Hello there, Madison here, and this is an episode of BJD and a cup of tea. Today's tea is the Wonderland tea. It's Topsy-Turvy Blend by Disney. This is the official unbirthday tea. I've done Mad Hatter tea before, but this is the Topsy-Turvy tea, which is more of a citrusy black tea with some floral and fruit flavor. So it's really good actually. It's kind of like Earl Grey, but lighter, flavoring wise because of the fruit. So it's a really good tea. It's black, so it's got caffeine and everything in it, if you can't tell. But I love it. I was just in Disney's Hollywood Studios not too long ago, and I picked up a tin of the Topsy-Turvy Blend, which I've never tried before. I was pretty excited about. And my other favorite, which is the Mad Tea Party Blend, which I've definitely tried, and that's great. I've had that in one of my other videos before. But very fun collector's tin, and it's appropriate today because we're topsy-turvying it today. This is Amorithia's intro video, and we have a TARDIS here because we are traveling through time. That's right, we are delving into Lear's past to meet Amorithia. Ooh. Yes, Amorithia is a royal queen, which is why we gotta find China. So she's the High Queen of Shylon. Before the time of darkness, before Amnice, Lear had Amorithia. Now, he didn't have her. They were not in that kind of a relationship, if you know what I'm saying. Not for lack of desire on someone's part, but she was betrothed to someone else. As a queen, she can't just marry whoever she wants, but she was going to marry somebody she wanted, which wasn't Lear. Sorry, Lear. I know. You knew. We all knew. But, brief history of Shylon. I mentioned before in the Artunis's video that back in the day, Shylon caters to all mythical creatures, magic and all of that. Shylon was filled with magic. There was unicorns, and Pegasus, and fairies, and elves, and centaurs, and if you imagine it, it was there. And everybody could take on human form, because when you go to court, and when you're like hanging out with everybody else, you were in your human form. It was the easiest way to interact with everybody. That was where Amorithia lived. She lived in the glorious age of Shylon. Magic was everywhere, and she was the ruler, the High Queen of Central Shylon, and she was the most awesome enchantress of them all. I mean, she bended Shylon's magic in ways that, I mean, nobody's seen since, and obviously not since, because when she disappeared, the ancient magics disappeared with her. Shylon's magic, unfortunately, was gone. So while Amorithia was around, she loved using magic, okay? And she was a little mischievous, so she liked to pull little pranks on people. When she was a child, she grew up in the palace, and the Phoenix was her tutor. He helped her with magic because he, aside from her, the Phoenix was the greatest magical being there was, / is. So he was her magical teacher. And she used to pull pranks on him as often as she could as a child. And then, of course, she grew up. That changed a little bit, and she wasn't as immature, but she still liked to pull pranks now and then. Now, where does Lear fit into that picture? Well, Your Majesty, Amorithia here, she was very lonely. Not for lack of having tons of people around, because she had tons of people around. But she just felt like nobody understood her on the same level as the Phoenix did, and he was the Phoenix. I mean, he's busy. I mean, he pretty much is like, if there was a High King, he was the High King, where she's the High Queen. let me back it up a second here. The High Queen, let me tell you what that is. So there are many kingdoms in Shylon. Central Shylon was the city that housed the High Queen, and the High Queen was basically the ruler of all the kings and queens. So she was in charge of keeping the peace. She made sure that if there was a dispute between the kingdoms, she came in and said, this is the final say. And a lot of times magic was involved, because this was back again when magic was the everyday everything in Shylon. The way that we use technology today, the way that we use the internet, the way that we use cell phones, that's how they did magic. It was just an everyday occurrence. It was part of their lives. So magic was almost always involved. Sadly, though, because she used a lot of magic, and a lot of times she experimented with magic, it weighed on her physically and sometimes would make her ill. But back where I was. So the High Queen, a lot of responsibilities, a lot of people involved in her life, but she still felt kind of lonely. And she wanted somebody who would see her, as the woman, as the girl, as the person behind the crown. And the only person who saw her that way was the Phoenix, and like I said, he was busy taking care of the entire planet. So she decided to create a spell to bring a companion to her. So she twisted Shylon's magic in a way that it had never been twisted before, and she created this very large spell and cast it. Lear, where he was and what he was doing, was also creating a spell. He wanted an escape. He was in big trouble, and he was about to face probably death, most certainly death. So he wanted out. He needed to get out of there, and he, being a very powerful sorcerer where he was, decided he's going to try something new. So he tried a new spell he had never tried before. He bended his magic, his powers, and he called out. His magic and her magic called to each other, and she brought Lear to Shylon, and that is how they met. He sort of fell from the ceiling, if you will. Like literally, magic circles on the floor, magic circles on the ceiling. Here comes Lear, woo! And here's Amorithia, ah! And best friends forever, wee! Happy dance! Not quite, sadly, not quite. So she brought Lear to Shylon. Instantly, she knew this was it. This is exactly who she'd been wanting. This is the companion who would see her for her, because he understands. He's got all this stuff in his past. He's magical, and he's powerful, and wow, he can get me. And they would talk. Like before Amnice and Lear had their tea parties, Amorithia and Lear had tea parties, and they would discuss magic, and they would experiment with magic, and she finally had met somebody who could understand her on that level, and who saw her as a human, or as a woman, as a person, and they could talk on that level as well, and he understood her completely because of his pain and his past, which we haven't gotten too far into, because of who he was and what he had been through. So they were instant best friends. Unfortunately, as some of these best friend stories go, Lear developed feelings for Amorithia that were more than just friendly. And sadly, Amorithia was engaged to someone else, who she very much was in love with. But that didn't stop Lear from falling for her. So about that time, when Lear's feelings were at their peak, when Amorithia's health was declining, certain things happened. The time of darkness fell upon Shylon. Now, to sum up the time of darkness in a way without revealing anything, it was a giant war. Basically, the haves and the have-nots were duking it out over magic, and using magic as weapons. For the first time in Shylon's history, magic was weaponized. And sadly, out of that time of darkness, what came of it was Lear was sealed with the ancient magics under a unicorn curse. He was forced into the body of a unicorn and sealed with the memories of what had happened, the truth, because he was in the palace of Central Shylon. Queen Amorithia was unfortunately did not make it. as they were the most powerful people besides the Phoenix. There were many who were very strong, but these two were some of the most magically inclined and powerful people on the planet of Shyloon at the time of darkness. And sadly, that led to the demise of the magic in general. That's when the magic was sealed. Lear was trapped in a unicorn body, and Amorithia no longer was around, if we will, possibly dead. So fast forward 1,000 years, Lear meets Amnis, but Amorithia is still in his heart. He's lived with the memories of her, of things that happened, the war and mistakes and decisions and what could he have done differently. For hundreds of years, he's replayed his entire life, or lives in his case. He feels like he's lived so long, he's lived multiple lives. And it's almost driven him to insanity if you think about it. But he has a portrait of Amorithia in his study where he's sealed. And he talks to her as if she can hear him, because that's all he has, honestly. He's been trapped without any kind of contact to the outside world outside of a magic mirror. Very Beauty and the Beast-ish. And so his magic mirror allows him to see things. And unfortunately, he can't find Amorithia because she's not there anymore. So she is a ghost that haunts Lear's heart. She is the woman from his past. He still has feelings for her after all this time, and which does eventually pose a problem with Amnis, because as we find out, and as I've talked before, Amnis and Lear are now what Amorithia and Lear were. So he sees a lot of Amorithia in Amnis. He sees that connection, someone who understands. After the magic was gone in Shyloon, Amnis has magic. She's able to be in his study, whereas nobody else has ever been able to be there before. They're able to communicate and talk and hang out, and he hasn't had that company in years. So for him, it's a huge thing. It affects him very deeply. And then Amnis will eventually, sadly, learn about Amorithia, and that may cause more problems than either Lear or Amnis realize, because there's feelings that they have for each other that they haven't quite figured out yet. So that's pretty much Amorithia's backstory. A little bit about the doll. Amorithia is a DollZone Tulip, which is unfortunately a discontinued sculpt. She's about 64 centimeters. Beautiful, white skin. I got her in white skin. I got her as a full set, so she does have the default face up, and this is her default outfit from DollZone. I changed her wig and her eyes. Presently, I love the color of this wig. I like the texture. Not too fond of the curls. I was hoping that they'd kind of fall out, and maybe they will eventually, kind of get a little looser. But I'm still keeping my eye out for some wigs in this color or in similar colors, because it's very close to what I want, what I visualize for Amorithia looking. I love the outfit. The outfit, like I said in my previous video, reminds me very much of Nicole Kidman in a Moulin Rouge, especially with the default wig and eyes. Seriously, she looks like she could be flying in the elephant room, you know what I'm saying, like crazy. But that's not what she is. She's definitely not a burlesque dancer or anything like that. She's a queen. But I also like the outfit because it's all the layers, it's very rich, it's very colorful, it's very, like in my mind, it fits kind of the royal idea I had for Amorithia. And like I said, she's a little mischievous, she's kind of playful. So I could see her hiking up her skirt where it should be much longer. I could see her running through the palace with it hiked up, even at the behest of her council, being like, oh, cover it up, don't show your legs. I mean, she kept Lear after they told her to get rid of him, and she was like, I picked him, he's mine. I'm keeping him. I found that. He's mine. You can't tell me. So there's a lot of things that she does because she's very willful. But that's who she is, and that's everything I could possibly tell you about her without revealing too much. But like I said, she's very important to Lear's past, and therefore is very important to the story, overall story of Shyloon. Sadly, we don't really meet her. in person because, like I said, she's the past. But we do see her in the memories of Lear as he discusses her and as he sort of wars within himself over his relationship with Amnes and what she might think of him if she were around, because she was that important to him in the past. But I'm thankful to have her in a doll form because I feel like it can develop her character a bit more and maybe do some photos of Lear from the past, before he was a unicorn, before the time of darkness, before all the shadows that cloud his heart existed. Thanks so much for watching. And thanks for subscribing. Oh my gosh. I have over 1,000 subscribers. I don't even know I don't even know how that happened. I mean, I know how it happened, but wow. You guys are amazing. I can't believe you guys like me and like my dolls or my ramblings. I'm sometimes so random. But I really appreciate all of the subscribers and anybody who watches my videos. You guys are fantastic. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I will see you guys in more videos in the near future, and until then, bye! Cheers.